I talk to people, you can't get in heaven without the Bible. You know, I talk to people like that. You can't get into heaven without the Bible. You got to have the Bible to get into heaven. And I laughed at it, really, because you don't have to have the Bible to get into heaven. It's good that you read it and it helps you mature and become a good Christian and stuff. But you don't need the Bible to get into heaven. How do I know that? 400 years before the Bible was written, how'd they get in heaven? They ate the body and drank the blood of Christ, which nourishes the soul inside you. Your soul will grow. You are a cocoon. When you die, your soul busts out of the cocoon and floats up to God like a butterfly, really, with a big rose in your hand, and you're going right in the kingdom of God, saying, "Hey, here I am. I brought you some flowers, Mama. Ah, Mother. Oh, sweet, holy Mother. Oh, you've been through, oh my God, everything you've been through, and you were born without sin." That's why I know the Blessed Mother didn't die, because the wages of sin is death. And she was born without sin. So she was assumed into heaven. That's why we have the Assumption of the Blessed Mother. It's on August the 15th. Yep. She was assumed into heaven. There's no graves with her bones in it. The only two people born into the world were first the Immaculate Conception, which was our Blessed Mother, and then the second Immaculate Conception. But the first, the God child, the Son of God. If you think about it, see, I gotta watch how I breathe because I start hiccuping. And I'm sorry about that, people. I do it all the time. If you notice my tapes, I keep on going. I didn't take anything this morning. What am I doing here? But anyways, once again on the topic, why I wanted to make this tape. See what I'm talking about? That dementia sets in. It's going to take me a few seconds to clear my thoughts here and go back, and I have to go back and what was I talking about when I opened up? Oh, jeepers. Ah, man, it's getting bad, people. Getting real bad. It seems. If I wasn't making videos, I wouldn't have any problems. But you got to be sharp, man. You got to be right on, man. I'm talking to you like I was a street corner bum, you know? This is what I was like. Well, anyways, God came into my life, put me in school, took me out of school, and now here I am in my old age, still have music. I hung up the guitars for 23 years. I played 30 years for the church, for Roman Catholic Church. I played their masses and their retreats and their Franciscan orders retreats they had too. I am a Franciscan postulant, so I never withdrew, but that was 48 years ago. But I always, I never withdrew from being a postulant, but I did become a Marian. Oh, I cheated. I'm a Marian helper, and I'm a Franciscan postulant. They asked me, tried to notify me by mail or something when I came back from Florida, because it was before Florida that I was a postulant. And I went back down to Florida. I got involved in the community up here. Then we went to St. Cyril's Church, and that was all Franciscan. So I spent 30 years there in ministry with the children, teaching CCD and singing songs, and whenever they had a function, go to the picnics and play the picnics. Yeah, we were 30 years in service with St. Cyril's. They gave us, here, I got it right here. I wear it. They gave us a pewter plaque like this. It says St. Cyril's on it. And on the back it says, thank you for your service. I don't know. Here, let's see what it says on the back here. I can't see it. What am I doing here? It's backwards. What's going on here? Whatever. I should know that by now. It's not going to come out until you redo it and when it come out so you can read it. But that's what my history is in Binghamton. I came back to Binghamton. I don't know why God wanted me to come back here. And this town, to me, is my hometown. I can't. Everybody knows me when I was a teenager, and I wasn't a respectable person when I was a teenager. Hanging out in the street corners. Well, I was out of the house at 15. I was just turning 16. I was old enough to quit school, so I quit. They wouldn't let me play football. And I says, well, if I can't play football, can't get a scholarship or anything like that, what the heck I want? That's my reasoning at that age, I was emotionally upset, too, because I had a undescended testicle. In other words, it wasn't in the sac. It was on the side. And they wouldn't take me to service either with it. But they wouldn't take me on the football team either. Varsity, he says, JVs and freshmen you can play, but varsity they hit too hard. They're everybody's almost a full-grown man, and they hit hard, and we don't want to take a chance at you. I know what it was. The doctor that did that to me told me that I couldn't play football because I play football all the time. With it wasn't up. It wasn't a hernia. It was on the side. It wasn't quite in the scrotum, right? So this doctor that my mother and father had, he was a doctor too. For them, they owed him a lot of money, and he didn't pay him, and so he embarrassed me in my school. He goes, he tells everybody in the whole school that I only got one nut, and the other one's on the side of the bag. I am not allowed to play football. So, because my mother and father owed him money. He took and embarrassed me. So I left school. Everybody's calling me one nut, So, one nut, yeah. I'll put a knuckle right on your nose. That's what I was like back then. So anyways, I dropped out of school. Then I went into service. Service wouldn't take me either, I went for a physical, and I says, no, that has to be in the scrotum. And I go, okay. So I went and I had it operated on, and I just cut it off. I'm going to serve my country. Cut my left nut off. Cut it off. It won't stay in the sack, and it has to be in the sack for them to take me as a serviceman, be part of the service. I went in the Navy. I got on the firepower of the Navy, the USS Clarion River, which was a White Plains, USS White Plains was a sister ship to it. They were the two ships that went up to Saigon. and blasted everybody's villages. Any villages within 7 miles of the Saigon River, we annihilated. Within 7 miles. That's where our range was. 7 miles. Those rockets would go 7 miles on the charge they had. They were like 3 feet long and 10 inches on a diameter. And man, they just took off. And when they hit, man, you didn't realize such a small rocket would take and do such a big explosion when they hit. Because picture this: 8 rockets taken off from a launcher, and then 3 seconds later, 8 more rockets going out of that same launcher. That's how quick it was. They had an elevator in it. And you had all these guys. That's why we had 157 guys in the ship, because we all had to line up, and how we got the rockets out of the tubes they were in, because they all had their own tube. And the guy would go there, open up the first tube, grab the rocket out, hand it to the next guy. The guy's elbow to elbow. There might be 100 guys. All depends on where the rockets are getting the rockets from. Front of the ship, back of the ship, where are they getting them from? And they're getting like 50 guys shoulder to shoulder or whatever, or more. And that's what they do. They hand them the rocket, and rocket, and then it goes over on the top of a conveyor, and an elevator puts them in like an automatic shotgun. Yeah, just like an automatic shotgun, you cock it, and everything goes right up into the tubes, and bam, Well, that's what these were, these rockets, 2 at a time. There was 8 launchers up on top of the deck, and then on the other side of the ship, there was 8 more launchers. So we could turn them around and focus in. See, because they were on a swivel. If you can figure it out, a swivel. Here's your rockets pointing like this, and the ship's going up and down. Let me see if I can get it. The ship's going up and down like this, but those rockets are right on. They stay right on because it's on a swivel. Like like here's the ship going up and down, right? And these are right on the rockets, right? And they're right on the rockets, and it's up and down. So the ocean can't throw your rockets off, because they're all geared in there. It's all done by mechanics and everything, and computers and all that stuff. And what happens is the helicopters go over. They've been scouting areas out and watching them, watching the activity, and they get lazy. Everybody gets lazy. And there was an ammo dump on one of these. This is one I'm talking about. There was an ammo dump, and it was on top of a knoll hill, and the ammo dump was right on that hill that they've been monitoring for the helicopters and the planes and all that. So they radioed back to Concordians and all that stuff, and we went parked in the middle of Saigon, and the ships turned sideways, and then the rocket launchers go, and they focus in on where the Concordians are, because the planes radioed back where they want us to hit the rockets. So the rockets will hit right within 3 feet or so of their, 8 of them, and then 3 seconds more, 8 more, 3 seconds more, 8, all the way up to 10,000 rockets we had on that ship. I think it was 10,000. I can't remember everything. I don't know, maybe it was 5,000. I don't know, 10,000, 5,000. All I know is there was a lot of rockets on our ship. And rocket 1, and you hear that. Whatever that big whistle they had. I can't do it. You'd be doing something, right? And you would hear, all of a sudden you would hear, I haven't whistled in years. I didn't realize I don't know how to whistle anymore. I forgot how it goes. I can't hear in my head that whistle that goes off for Rocket One. We called it Rocket One. It was combat stations. We all had to go to combat stations during walk around, and the gear to go to your combat station, you hear it over the microphone. It goes, wee, whistle sound, and then wee, and then everybody's running, to get to their station, for battle. And then we pull sideways and we hone in on them, and everybody's pounding, opening up the launchers, and the rockets are going in them, and that's how I remember it when they all went off, man. That's about the distance. That's 4 rockets going, 4 launchers with 8 rockets in each launcher. But they all go, the 2 goes, there's 2, and then in one launcher there's 2, and then on the other side there's 2 more. So there's 4 rockets going out of these 4 launchers that you got here. There's 8 rockets going on, 2 out of each launcher. And you have to keep them up there, and they heat up. Boy, those things heat. My job was to put out the rockets when they take off. Jeepers. I got promoted to that job. I just wanted to, I said, why didn't I just stay chip and paint? The bosun's man. I didn't tell them I'm a welder. I told them I was a welder, and they said, oh, we got to put you in engineering. And then you go from chip and paint to putting out rockets with a rocket launcher. Jeepers. Putting out rockets that didn't take off in the rocket launcher. And they spin around the deck, and you got to watch out. They'll burn your legs right off. It's like a laser. Well, it's more like a blowtorch. You cut metal with it. Blowtorch. Well, a lot more flame, 10-inch flame coming out of the back of them. These things go 7 miles before they hit. And they got to go 100 revolutions before they can explode, what I was told. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they just told me that so I knew I was safer. Felt safer when I was out there and they were spinning around on the deck, and I had to put out the fires that they caused. And they started spinning around the deck and then catch things on fire. They caught a fire hose on fire. That's how powerful these blowtorch rockets are. Out of the back of them, they're like a blowtorch in the back. And there was a fire hose that was wound up on the wall next to a launcher. There was a fire hose there in case there was, you could use that, to cool things down and all that stuff. So it was on the wall, and this rocket fell out and started spinning around and hit that fire hose. And somehow it just stayed on it, right? And the fire hose caught on fire. I was looking at this. A fire hose catching on fire? Good God. That's how powerful these rockets were, with the flames coming out of the back of them, And, you had to... I hit them with the CO2. I got a great big huge CO2. And you hit it, and whoo! And a big puff of CO2 comes out, and whatever fire that the rocket just caused, it's out, you put it out. But what's really scary is when they get caught in the launchers and they're hissing. They want to take off, but they're and you're standing there, and what you got to do is you got to turn on, every launcher has water faucet on it, and you have to turn it on to cool the rocket down and everything. But the only thing is, what I realized is when you turn that water on, to cool the rocket down, you're also cooling that launcher down. and that launcher's expanded, because of the heat and the rockets going every 3 seconds out of it. And then when you cool down, it makes it close up. And if it closes up too much, the rockets, when they go out, they get caught in it. And then the guy has to come with a pipe and pound them out of the launcher. And he's got asbestos suit on, everything's asbestos and everything. So his chances are, he won't be, if something explodes, he's knocked off and he's covered and all that stuff. But, man, those things are powerful rockets, man. I remember how at night, that was the best time. I used to love to watch them go off at night. Oh, man. Because that's when we hit them. Because that's when the VC came out from their holes in the ground. Yeah, friendly fire. We had to kill a lot of innocent people also. The people in the villages, you go up to them, you tell them, you got to get out of here. It's a military zone. If you're caught here and when we come in to fight, you're here, you're going to be collateral damage. You got to get your family and get out of here. And here's a guy standing there looking at you, He's got 8 kids, and he's got chickens, and he's got a cow, and he's got a garden growing, and he's got everything, and you got to tell him, get out of here. You're in a military zone. You can be killed. And they chance it. They don't move. They stay there. And the VC come, and that's who they feed on at night. They come in, rape the women, kill the husbands, because the husbands are trying to defend their wives. So they kill the husbands, and they steal the children, make slaves out of them in the holes that they live in. They live in holes in the ground. Little teeny people they are, really. I mean, they're like little midget, but thin. They're not pudgy or anything. They're very slender and thin. Man, there's a lot of things I can tell you. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to depress. I'm not going to make this so you got a bad image of what it was like over there. Too bad of an image. Because it was really something else over there. What they do is they lived in those holes in the ground. And they dug them out really big. I mean, there's like not a big city under there, but, a great big hole they dug deep down in the ground. Now in the ground it's 60 degrees. Well, on top of the ground it's 110. So they don't go, during the daytime, they don't go on top of the ground. If they do, it's very rare, And it's usually sharpshooters that's trying to knock you off, from a tree or something, then go back down in their hole and nobody knows where you went, And so they would come out. As soon as the sun went down, the temperature went down too. So they come out of their holes at night at a certain time, probably, I don't know, well, everybody's getting ready for bed and all that stuff, so it's probably around 8 or 9 o'clock when the sun goes down and it's dark out. They come out of their holes and they go and rape and steal and pillage, and they do everything, to those poor people, So it's sad. It was sad. So the only way you can get them, we couldn't sort them out. Okay, you guys get over on that side while we kill these guys. When you hit them, you had to hit them when they were doing their thing. And that's when they were in the villages, raping the women and killing the husbands and stealing the children and pillaging everything. That's all they did, rape, pillage, and steal, and, the whole thing, man. They were little groundhogs. We were a cultural clash. They were primitive. They were very primitive. They could live in that jungle in Vietnam and feed off of it and, feel at home, Where we got cans of sardines and whatever happens, While you're over there, you gotta eat too. So what was really funny about it, not funny, but strange for people who were small people that joined the army. There's a lot of army guys. If you were about 4'9" and you weighed 110 pounds or 100 pounds or something like that, guess where you went? You went in a hole with a machine gun and a flashlight to flush all those people out of their little dwellings, right? And those guys got, oh man, they got beheaded a lot because they go through, they flush everybody out, and then they see the opening at the top, light, and so they go up, crawl up, come out. When they come out, they bring their head up. Guess who's sitting there with a sickle? A VC, a Viet Cong. And he just gulps your head right off. Gulps it right off. Whoop, and you're beheaded. So, and how they got away with it is the leaves on those trees over there are so big. These people are so small, they could hide behind leaves. So we had to Agent Orange the leaves so we could see where they were, running around and all that stuff, or where they are, or whatever. They came into Cameron the day before we went into Cameron Bay. They were hit. They came in with all kinds of mortars and all that stuff, hit Cameron. And we were afraid to get off the ship. And I was saying, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to be right in the middle of a war now, with them bombing us and all that stuff while I'm here having a beer at a hangar. They used to take a hangar and make a great big bar out of it, and you get 1,000 guys in there. They're coming in for R&R. You get 1,000 guys drinking beer and they had one of those little girls. I thought she was like 10 years old. When I walked in, here's a girl with no top on, right? And she looks like she's 10 years old. She has a pair of black underwear on, skimpy ones, and she's doing the hoochie coochie dance, and all the guys going, they're drinking their beers. Oh, give us a peek. Come on, give us a peek, they're sticking dollar bills in her underwear and all that stuff. And her parents are sitting in the chair watching her dance, going through all this. And they're chaperones, they allow them to come in. That's how she made her money, man. She made a bundle, too. And she was like a little 10-year-old girl. No bosoms or anything on her. She just did the hoochie coochie dance, and she made a bundle of money. But those people over there are small. They're like a petite midget. Midgets are little chubby little guys, but these people are slender and about as big as a midget, though. Yeah. So I looked at that and I says, all these guys, oh yeah, oh, give us a peek, come on, give us, they're drinking the beer and all that stuff. And I'm going, cheapers. We're here setting an example. What are we fighting for? Why are we here? What kind of morality are we teaching these people? Their cultural clash, they're back in they're way back, they're back in caveman ages, these people are. They live in holes and everything, man. So, we got out of there. I mean, we did our damage, man. That ship I was on, whew, man. I remember one time we hit an ammo dump, and it went off like it was a nuclear bomb when we hit it. We hit it square, right, where they had all this ammo. They had all this ammo stored in this an ammo dump, they call them, but we've been watching them for, we've been watching them from the planes, and watching the traffic going and dropping off all the bombs and missiles and everything else, and guns and rifles and everything. And excuse me, I get, what? I gotta go. I just got up. I don't know what time it is. Oh my God, it's that time already? It's 11:45. I just sat down here with this phone at 9 o'clock. How did it get that fast? Man, I was watching videos. Some of my videos. I have videos on here that I don't watch. I haven't watched. I don't sit around and watch. I like to watch some of my videos when I play music, because it puts me in the mood. Because I get that mood that I gave you in that song. And I was in a good one. So I go back to my videos. If I'm in a bad mood, I go back to my videos where I was in a good mood and play the music. and I come out like I'm in a good mood. It's strange, isn't it? That's what happens to me. Keep myself in a good mood. You make a tape. Well, musicians can make a tape when they're in a good mood. They make a tape of it, and then they go back like on YouTube. I got 600 films on there. I can go to. I've got films on there I forgot I made. Yeah, I've been doing this for about 4.5 years, somewhere around there. Ever since COVID started, I joined YouTube, and I caught COVID in 2023, November the 24th. I had just celebrated the 24th of this month. Oh, today's November 31st, I would think. 30 days past September, April, May, and November. Oh, so 30 days. So today's the 1st. Because yesterday was the 30th, Sunday. So today's the 1st of December already. Man, we were just in the middle of summer. Now here it's Christmas already. It's less than 25 days away. Man, when you get old, the years get shorter, people. Because you forget every day. You don't even know what day it is when you get old. Most people, I would say, don't care what day it is because they're retired and they're laying around. Or maybe they are active still. It's all different types. You gotta exercise. I learned that this morning. I was watching on TV this morning, a fitness center, it's called. And all they do is stretch. But all different types of stretching. You can actually stretch your whole body laying on a couch or laying in a bed. There's all kinds of exercises you can do. And they're real healthy for you, too. But, I got to get up and stretch. But I was going to take and say something. I had something on my mind and then I forgot it. So once I go back to what I was doing, it probably will pop up again and I'll go, oh, darn it. It was that simple to remember? Yeah, sometimes the simplest things I forget. But the real traumatic, emotional things I never forget. Like the hanging going off by my head when I was in Vietnam. There's a whole tape about that. The guy tried to murder me. It was friendly fire. He tried to kill me with a hand grenade. Man. Captain knew what happened. See, the next, well, it's on a tape. I made it. I just released one last week or so. I told the story about what happened to me on the ship. Friendly fire. The guy tried to kill me with a hand grenade. He was in charge of throwing hand grenades over the side of the ship when we were loading up the rockets. And I was sleeping in his bunk when he was working. And then when I had to go work, he came back and slept in his bunk. 8 on, 8 off, 8 on, 8 off. So I was an opposite. I was his protege. I was a ship fitter welder just out of boot camp. Saluting everybody. Yes, sir. No, sir. That's the way I was, man. I wanted to serve my country. And I cut off my left nut to do it, too. Yeah. I had a guy the other day, he goes, thank you for your service. I was parked in a veterans parking lot space at Lowell's. And he was right across from me, He opens up his door, and I open up my door. I get out of my car, I'm standing, and he hollers over me, thank you for your service, he goes. And I says, yeah, I says, what about my suffering? And he stopped. And he come over to me. He looks at me, and he looks at I've got this on my chest, my crucifix. And my brown scapular and stuff. He knew what they were. I think he might have been Catholic. because he looked at me. He says, he says, "So you go to church?" And I says, "Every day." And he just looked at me, He says, "Hi, I want to introduce myself. I'm J. Paul Battisti, Broome County District Attorney." I go, "Oh, good to meet you." I was, I'm Bill Nixon, retired real estate broker and school teacher. I didn't do that. I just hung my head. Hang down, hang your head, Tom Dooley, because poor boy, you could die. So I just hung my head, because this guy's a district attorney. He could stick me in jail if he wanted to. So, so I shook his hand. Says, "You're a veteran. You come down and join my veterans group. If you got complaints and all that stuff, we can help you out." I might do that. So that wasn't too long ago. It's only December now. I don't know. I'm sick. I would have done it, but I'm sick. I've got long COVID, and I've had it for 737 days now. Whatever. How many days has it been since December? No, since November the 24th, 2023 to now. Today's the 1st of December. That's how long I've had this COVID. Long COVID. I got COVID, and on December the 8th, I got it on the 24th, and on December the 8th, and 14 days, I had COVID. I tested negative on the 14th day, which was the Feast of the Blessed Mother, the Immaculate Conception. December the 8th. And I wear that medal, people. And I'll show you it, too. Right here. There it is. Miraculous medal. I wear two of them. They're just, I don't know, there's something about them. The Blessed Mother wanted us all to wear them. So, for grace and mercy. So, I wear it. I have a close relationship with the Holy Queen. She saved me. Oh, a bunch of gators were going to eat me. They were all lined up, ready to push me into the pool. I didn't do. I didn't realize they were laying on the ground behind me like logs, and they're creeping up a little bit, and they're creeping up a little bit, and then they hydroplane themselves, and you're standing next to the big pool of water, which I was with my bow and arrow, and they hydroplane themselves up without you noticing. You're looking out the water, and this and that. Or you might be fishing there, too. Fishermen. Because what happens is, here's what I picture what would have happened if what happened didn't happen. This gator was trying to... I'll tell you how I found the gator sneaking up behind me. I was by a big stump, and this big bumblebee came out. A bumblebee. Not a bee. A big yellow, brown colored bumblebee. And it was about as big as something that, I don't know what we should do. The top of a jar, like for a fruit jar or something like that. It's about 4 inches in diameter or something. That's how big this bee was. And it came out and it hovered over the log and it's looking at me, and I'm looking at it and it's hovering in there, and and all of a sudden he goes zoom at me, and I go, ugh. I go back, and then I step back a little bit further, and it goes zoom again. So he's got my attention. This bee does. So I'm following it, and it goes, and it starts zzz, and it goes down to the riverbank and follows the shoreline around and back of me. And I'm watching, I'm going, what is this guy? What's he going to do? Sneak up on me? Or what? And when he went down, he was flying down, and then he dipped down, and he hit something, a plunking sound in the middle of the river. He bounced off of it. this bee, bounced off of what was in the middle of that river and back at me because the river wound, and I was in the middle, and there was a big pool there where all the rivers, creeks, and all that stuff came together. The Tanilanehatchee and the St. Lawrence, not St. Lawrence, St. John's River. And it was way out in the jungle because I had driven my truck out there on a road, and I got off and I went down inside this area I wasn't familiar with, but it was a big pool. I thought there's going to be a lot of game here. Oh, yeah. And you're the game because there's big crocs in there. Man, they were like 16, 17 feet long, these things were. And they hydroplane themselves, and they can run at you. Run 45 miles an hour for a short spurt. They hydroplane themselves and zip, and they jump and knock you in the pool where mommy and daddy is waiting. Hi, your dinner. Your dinner. He jumps in, he grabs an arm, somebody grabs another leg, somebody grabs your guts, you got your liver, they got everything. Got your head, and all that's left is your bow. Right? So a fisherman comes about maybe a year later or something like that. He's fishing out there, and he gets caught. He's, oh, darn it. And he starts pulling it in. He pulls it in. And what is it? It's coming in. He thought it was a branch, And he pulls it in. He brings it in. And it's my bow. My camouflage bow and arrow. It's my bow. And he says, what's this? So he brings it back, and he turns it in. I found this in... where this river is, I found this in the pool. I hooked onto it with my fishing line and all that. Pulled it in. Do you know anything about it? And they looked at it, and they did research on it. And says, oh, yeah, that's the Nixon boy there, the Bill Nixon. He went in there hunting in his truck. We got his truck, but we didn't see him or anything. He was just put in as he was missing in the jungle, and it must be that's where he went, into that pool. This is his bow. Yeah, this is bow, and yeah, I used to instinctively hunt. And back then, I didn't have anything about a devil or anything like that. Or, like if you got something, like they had this one bow that I loved. It was called the Damon Howitt bow. The Super D, it was called. Damon Howitt. Put this bow out, and it's called the Super D bow. And I wanted it bad. I camouflaged it and everything. I was an instinctive hunter. I didn't have sights or anything. I could put the arrow right between your eyes at 20 yards. Consistently. I was that good with them. I instinctively, a partridge flew up down in Florida. Flew up and was flying up in the air, and I drew on it and pulled back, and it had landed on the branch of a tree, and I let it loose, and it went zip, and that fell down to the ground. Boom. I went over. His head was still attached, but I chopped his head off, and his head was still attached with a little strand of flesh, keeping his head on, right? I'm wiggling it back and forth, that, and I shot that partridge with my bow, and that was about, I would say, close to 20 yards, right around there, because I was right on it 20 yards. I could hit. I practiced a lot on targets at 20 yards with an instinctive hunter. And if I knew my distance, then I knew that, I knew that the arrow would get right to it. Within 20 yards, I could just point right at it and hit it right where I wanted it, right in the target. And then you go 25, 30, the hole gets bigger and your arrows start, instead of going right in the center, they're going out, they're landing up here. You got the center here, and their arrows are going in up here, over here, because you're further away. You're like 25, 30, 40 yards away, and unless you got a compound bow that got sights on it and everything, you point right at that thing and put the arrow right in the heart of a base of a deck of cards with the hearts on them. Yeah, we used to use them quite a bit. And buy a deck of cards before you went up to the range. Put the card up on the hay bale and go back and shoot at that card. And there was guys that put it right in the heart. Like if you had a card, they had sights and everything. You could see and all that. Jeepers. Man, sophisticated. Now they got it to where you can go hunting with a compound and a trigger with a trigger on it. They call them crossbows. And they're illegal. A lot of people rather use them than guns. I know a guy that goes during gun hunting season with a bow. He can have a gun with him, but he just likes the art of kitchen, what you want to eat. Come home, carve it up, put it in the refrigerator. You got steaks for the rest till next year or whatever it is. Depends on how big your deer is. I got deers. I used to hunt and everything. I don't do it anymore now. I'm older. I don't go out hunting. I want to go out fishing, though. I want to go walk the Berkey streams. I got a new bike.